Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the True Health Forever podcast, where we try to live our best lives through the lens of holistic health. My name is Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd, and I'll be doing this solo today. King's got some stuff to take care of, so it'll be just me today. Hopefully, y'all are okay with that. But quick check-in from this last week. I'll still do the check-in. It was a quite a busy week, as I feel like we pretty much say that every week, but it was a little bit of a busy week. But a lot of good things happening too. We had a couple workshops for Play Black Wall Street with the Umoja conference that happened yesterday. That went really well. So shout out to the king. I was in the background sending some links, but he really did all the work there. So, and we also opened our second kitchen for the Potluck app, which was very exciting. So she had her soft launch. So we had friends and family and a few other members of the Potluck community. And she sold out of her ribs, green beans, and mac and cheese, cornbread, and lemon cake. Quite a menu. So that was very, excuse me, very exciting as well. But today, what we want to talk about is 6 areas of your health or 6 pillars of your health that you should check in on every quarter. I'm sorry, y'all, got something in my throat. So it is tomorrow, will be March 1st. Cannot believe I just said that, of 2021, which means that we are going to be entering into the end of the first quarter of the year already, which is crazy. So something I want to talk about is these are the 6 areas of your health that you should be kind of just checking in on I mean, if you're asking me, at least once a month, but at minimum every quarter, these are things that you should check in on just to do a kind of a check-in with yourself and see, how am I doing? And I am going to focus a little bit more on the well, actually, when you think about these 6 questions, they really cover a wide array of health areas. So if you really do an in-depth kind of check-in with yourself in these 6 areas, then you'll basically be able to touch base on your physical health, your social, mental health, and your spiritual health all at once. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. All right. So y'all know I don't be memorizing this stuff. So I got my 6 areas here. So again, we're talking about the 6 pillars of health that you should check in on at least once a quarter. So the first one we're going to talk about is sleep. Y'all was like, what happened? It's sleep. So sleep is, I feel like it's so underrated. It is usually the first thing we try to cut down on, the minute life gets crazy. Is, we stay up a little bit later or we wake up earlier. If you were a student, that was like the absolute first thing to go is sleep. Is I'm pulling an all-nighter for my exam tomorrow. But I do find that interesting because it's so important. And I think as a culture, we're generally kind of understanding a little bit more on why sleep is so important. But it is your body's way of rejuvenating itself. It's your body's way. I mean, it's really like, think about your cell phone. Like, if you were to just run your cell phone battery and use it all week, eventually it's going to die, right? Unless you plug it in. And our bodies work the same way. And I don't want to say like you're about to die, but right, if you go all week without getting adequate sleep, by the time you get to Friday, you are not your best self. Let me tell you, I've been there. So yeah, sleep, it's very important. So in each of these areas, I'll ask kind of a few questions you can ask yourself to really assess how you're doing in this area. And then I do have also just one tip you can take away is if you determine like, okay, I have now, figured out that sleep is not my strongest area. I need to do something to, improve that. I have a tip that you can adopt to hopefully improve your sleep. So couple questions to ask yourself when you're trying to assess how your sleep is. One, how rested do you feel? If you feel tired, if you walk around feeling constantly tired, that is your body's way of telling you you need more sleep. And maybe not even more sleep. Let me be careful about saying more sleep. You need better sleep. A lot of times we think that sleep is all about the number of hours you get. But the truth of the matter of fact is, if you do 8 hours of subpar sleep, that may not be as good as 6 hours of great quality deep REM sleep. Okay. So it's not always about the amount of hours, but it's really about setting up your space and setting up your daily routine that lends itself to a better night's sleep. So, how rested do you feel? If you feel tired all the time, if you wake up feeling tired, that is a perfect sign that you need to maybe make some changes to your sleep regimen so that you wake up. You should wake up feeling rested, right? After you rest, the morning should be the most rested you feel. So again, if you're waking up already feeling more tired, that could be a kind of a flag that maybe sleep is an area that you need to focus on for the next quarter. Another question you could ask is, how long does it take you to fall asleep? I know I have been guilty of this, where I just lay there at night when I have, maybe I'm anxious or I have a lot of things going on. It takes me a longer time to fall asleep. That's called sleep latency. But if you are blessed to be able to just kind of, my husband has always been blessed in this way. We have the opposite problems where he can really sleep anywhere, anytime. He has never really had an issue falling asleep. So he lays in bed and is usually asleep within 10 minutes. I can tell you that because I'm usually hearing him snore. But me on the other me on the other hand, sometimes I will be, and sometimes when you're asleep, you don't necessarily know how much time has passed, but I do sleep with my Fitbit on. So sometimes I'll take a look at the clock and be like, oh, okay, it has been a whole hour and I'm still laying here. So that's a good sign that I could work on my sleep latency. Um, Another question is, do you wake up before your alarm? Does your alarm wake you up? Are you pressing the snooze button? Pay attention to your routine right when you wake up. What state of mind are you in before you wake up? I know often I wake up before my alarm, which honestly isn't necessarily a bad thing because your body does kind of get into a rhythm. So if we have a window by our bed, so naturally when the sun comes out, we're going to start to be a little bit more awake. But if you're finding yourself snoozing 5 and 6 times every single morning, then that's a sign as well that you either, need some more sleep, some better sleep, or should just adjust the time that you are waking up in the first place. So if if you're answering those questions and you're like, yeah, it's not looking good, sleep is something I need to work on next quarter or next month, then something I recommend is that you either keep a sleep journal. So you've heard of like a food journal where you write down all the things you eat. A sleep journal would be, maybe keeping track of your sleep routine. Did you drink some chamomile tea before you went to bed? How did you feel when you woke up? Just keeping track of the different things that you're doing, so that you know what's working and what's not. And that can also just be, I think the most important thing about it is going to be documenting how you feel when you wake up. So again, if you wake up and you're like this particular day, you're feeling extra groggy, like, oh my goodness, what happened? I feel like I slept for an hour and I really slept for 8. Then kind of think about like, okay, then what happened the day before? How can I reverse engineer, my day and figure out what contributed to my terrible night of sleep? So that's what a sleep journal is good for. If you don't want to use a sleep journal, or if you wear a Fitbit or some type of Apple Watch or something like that that monitors your sleep at night, start paying attention to that. Wear it to sleep and pay attention to that. It does monitor your different sleep cycles. It monitors, when you're asleep versus awake, how long you, at least for the Fitbit. That's all I can speak to. It tells you what percentage of the night you spent in your different sleep stages, and it can be just really helpful for you to kind of figure out how you are sleeping and make those changes. So that is area number 1, sleep. Moving on to area number 2, nutrition. So obviously, I think we all know how important nutrition is, so I don't want to spend too much time there, but what you feed your body is the fuel that it uses. And your body literally breaks down, right, the food that you eat and uses that to make up your body. It uses it to, replenish your cells. It uses that to build up your muscles. So your body is literally made up of what you are eating. So it is very important to pay attention to what you're eating and give yourself the best fuel possible. So some questions you can ask yourself when you're assessing your nutrition or your diet. I always like to start with this one, which is, were most of your, or how much of your decisions around food decisions, were conscious versus unconscious? So how many of them were purposeful? I'm going to choose to eat that salad because I know it has, healthy greens and veggies and things like that that are going to be good for me, versus I saw a McDonald's commercial and next thing I knew, we were in the drive-thru, right? That's more of an unconscious decision where you just kind of took advantage of whatever was in front of you, or were influenced by something around you, another person around you, a billboard, a commercial, whatever it is. Those are a little bit more unconscious. So I always like to kind of sit and think about how much of my decisions were conscious. Was I pretty, there are some months, there's some times out of the year, some weeks, some days where you're like, no, today's going to be a good day, and you're a little bit more conscious about what you eat. And then there are other days when things are just a little bit hectic and you're eating whatever's in front of you. Both of them happen, both of them are okay, but it's just good to check in with, where are you on the spectrum? Are you mostly eating consciously, or are you mostly eating unconsciously?